What's going on, guys? Welcome back to TheBotTalk. On today's episode we have Hyxder from F3 and Signal, but quickly before we get into today's episode, I want to go through today's episode sponsors. The sponsor for today's episode is Notify Proxies, one of the best proxy providers in the game. If you guys want to go check them out, 25% off at checkout. Use code TheBotTalk on their website. Link will be down below. All the links related to this episode will be down below in the YouTube description. If you guys are watching on Spotify, you can go ahead and search us up on Twitter at TheBotTalk and it'll take you to the YouTube. And also, last thing before the episode starts, thank you so much for 3,000 followers on Twitter. Blows my mind. The support has been crazy. Thank you so much for all the support. Let's jump straight into episode 11. Jumping straight into today's episode, guys, we have Hyxder, who's affiliated with F3, which happens to be one of the most dominant Supreme bots on the market. Some may say it is the most dominant Supreme bot on the market, and he also owns a group called SignalFNF and F. All links to all affiliations will be down below for you guys to check out. But jumping straight in to today's episode, we're finding out Hyxder's backstory, his affiliations, all his story that you guys need to know. So today's episode will be quite interesting. Jumping straight into the first question that we ask all our guests on the show: how did you get into reselling?
What's good, everybody? It's Hyxder here. How I got into reselling basically was I wasn't into reselling at the start. I was mainly into fashion, and this was just because of the influence that I had around me. Like, I was living back in Vancouver since 2013. And all the people around me, like the Asian guys, all the high school guys, all of them were just wearing hypebeast clothing, like Off-White and stuff. So that's how I first started taking notice that, there was this whole sneaker industry that existed, because before then I didn't know that there was this whole industry that existed that was mainly filled with like teenagers. Well, mainly filled now with teenagers. But what happened was in 2017, I think. That's when I first started getting into botting and all that. I actually had a friend with me in grade 12. He told me that we should start reselling together. I was like, yeah, actually, why didn't I start doing that before? Because it's such easy money. So we started pooling our money in together. And I used to go, we used to meet up early at school in the morning. It's like bad Wi-Fi, but back then it was like Supreme fall season, like 17. So there were not really any solidified desktop bots that we were using at the time because of the lack of knowledge that we both had. So what we did was we just searched up, best Supreme bot on Google. And then obviously like Super Cop, Force Cop, those are the bots that were showing up. So we went with the Super Cop. And it actually did really well for me. Like every TNF drop I did, it just cooked. And so I kept doing that for like 6 months with my friend. We were like reselling. We were mainly focusing on reselling Supreme because we didn't really understand Shopify botting at the time. So we thought it'd be easier to just start with Supreme. I don't know, things just fell apart after that, and between my friend and I. So
you had a falling out. Okay.
Yeah. So he quit the sneaker scene, but I said, this is like really good money. I still want to continue it, right? So we just split our ways, and then I continued doing this. And yeah, I was just doing it locally through my Facebook group. There was this sneaker community Facebook page that was called Vancouver Sneaker Community, VSC. Yeah, that's what it was. So I was just like flipping stuff locally all the time, and I wasn't really using StockX or anything like that either, because just the fees and stuff. But that's basically how I got in reselling. Just my friend and the influence that I had around me because of what others were wearing in like high school.
Yeah, well, that is quite interesting. Commonly that we do get from guests, I know I say this about every guest. Every guest does have a main motivation behind getting into reselling, and yours was your friend obviously did part ways during that path. But it's nice to see that people are bringing in more people from that outside community. And one thing that you did touch upon is that you didn't know about, at first you didn't know about this all hypebeast culture. You discovered it, and then you didn't know about the outer culture. You didn't know about the resale or the market value. So it is always interesting to see what people do with that knowledge and where they go. So moving on to the next question. What were some of the main motivations behind continuing to resell?
So my motivations for continuing reselling was I was living up in Vancouver, which is a pretty expensive area to live in. And I really wanted to fit in with the people that were in my school, and like all the people that were wearing hype sneakers and clothes and all that. So the money that was made from all this reselling that I was doing was really helping me get through like this little phase I was having, this spoil phase of having to own everything, even though you don't have like a proper income, like a proper job. So that's why I really started and continued reselling. And another thing is that I wanted to become known in the community and have a company that's like reputable, and the services and everything we offer, they have a lot of demand, which is Signal now after 10 months of working on it.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with some of the points you said there. I definitely do think some people like to fit in with a social construct at the time. I personally blew a lot of money, like all the income I made from reselling and being supported bots on clothing at one time. But I feel like in this industry and in this community, your mind does mature and you do realize that investments need to be made, you need to save money. So it's nice to have that transition from purely focusing on hypebeast clothing to creating these services. And like you said, creating a reputable company that you're literally known for and in a sense is your legacy. In your legacy within this community that people would know you for. But moving on to the next question, we talked about when you got into reselling, you did slowly get into it through your friends, and everyone goes into this whole thing being a manual user. How was the bridge like from being a manual user to a bot user to maximize your success on releases?
Honestly, at first it was kind of intimidating to me, right? Because the thing with extension bots is it basically shows you or like simulates just how you would regularly do a Supreme add to cart and all that, right? So knowing that there were bots that existed that just showed you a little taskbar and all the statuses there and everything, like request bots going from zero point 0.2 seconds and like extension bots being 5.3 second checkouts and all that. It was just, I didn't even know bots existed that weren't like extension bots, right? I kind of just thought, you know, everything was like a super cop bot or first cop. So I started working for Dot Supreme first, actually, before I got with F3. And Dot Supreme originally started as an extension bot. So I first started getting actually introduced to these request mode bots when .aio, or sorry, Dot Supreme, they released their desktop client, which was both. They had a hybrid feature, like a headless mode and a request mode. So that's when I first started with requests. And while I was in .aio, that's when I started making a Twitter and actually using it and learning about different companies all through the Twitter. So when I was looking at Supreme success and all that, I would see people shouting out Feather. And then I did some research on Feather and I saw that it didn't look like a regular bot. And a regular bot I thought was like an extension bot, like I said before. So when I saw F3, I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. But I couldn't get my hands on it just because it was like 150, oh no, 130 USD retail at the time. And like money was tight for me still because I wasn't really getting any revenue since my friend left because we split like halfway our money. So I had to kind of start broke at like $300, right? So I couldn't really afford F3. I was kind of hoping to save that revenue for reselling actual Supreme items. So when I saw that F3 existed, I kind of like shortly after that, I had this mental breakdown. I wasn't really into reselling anymore. So for like a month or two, I quit. And after I came back, I had like some bots like .ano and everything. I quit them back then. So I sold those bots and I just decided to buy F3. And I did buy it through like a group buy. So once that's basically the moment everything changed. After I got F3, I started using it a lot. I was super active in the chat and I just started basically acting like a support that had no role, like no official role for support, but that's what I was doing. I was like helping everyone out. But after the staff or like C3 and Shava had noticed me working in there like a support, they kind of just offered it to me. So when I officially started working for F3, the beginning days were kind of they were they were really packed, I would say, because I had a lot of work to attend to because of the people that kept asking questions and all that. And I was the only support at the time as well. There was this other guy. I'm not going to say his name, but there was this other support. He wasn't too active, so I kind of had to take care of everything, like in terms of questions and all that, and support chats. I had to answer all the questions. So that was stressful for me, but at the same time, I didn't have other things other than school that I had to focus on. So really, I would be dedicating a few days or like mainly Tuesday or Wednesday, I dedicate that time to F3 supporting.
Yeah, I do think there's a very unique take that I can actually relate to. Is when I first got into community, I did support for Adept, and like you said, you did say that you were doing support with our own. That's similar to what I did. Literally, as soon as I got Adept, I thought it was a good brand. I thought, you know what, I'm gonna start doing support. And if anyone thinks doing support without having a role, without getting paid, is a bit of a stupid thing, it's hard to explain, but you kind of want to help those people. It's weird. It's like you have the knowledge of the bot, you're very skillful of the bot, and you're like, if I've got this knowledge, why don't I just share it? Like, there's no point, I don't get any value of me keeping the knowledge. So if I spread the knowledge, increase the success, then it's overall just going to make the bot experience better. It allows the heads to go ahead and create more revenue for the bot, invest in the bot, make everything overall better experience, make more positivity within the Discord. So it all just leads to good things. So I definitely do think having the right support people on your team is a very, very good thing. So moving on to the next question. What were some of the positive things and negative things that came out of working for F3?
So the positive things were that the role that you had, the role that you carried was, it was really cool to have that kind of role, where people saw you on the side of Discord and, your name would be up there with that special role that you're affiliated with such a great company. That was really cool to have. Another thing that was really positive for me working with F3 was working under Zkron and Shaba. Those guys have helped me out insanely throughout the time I've been on this platform. Like with marketing, right? For Signal, when I was starting Signal back in the start of 2019, January, I had no connections, no marketing, not like whatsoever, right? Except for from the F3 team. Shaba, he was the one that was helping me out a ton. So he helped me with marketing and he gave me a ton of knowledge as well to start up everything I've had. So I owe him a lot for that. I would say a lot of my success comes directly because of Shaba. So those are another positive thing is the reaction you get out of people when you're helping them. Like, even if you answer some questions, like sometimes people treat you with such good respect that you kind of forced to have a smile on your face because of them. So that's what I really like seeing when you help someone and they share appreciation back. That's kind of what I look forward to being a support team member. On another side though, for negative things, it's just the time crunching. It's just now that things have gotten so busy because F3 has grown significantly over the last year. It's just hard to crunch time between Signal and F3. That's the main thing I'm having problems with right now. But a negative thing would be some of the people, to be honest. Like, some of the people are just, it's like talking to a wall, man. It's like you post every single guide, everything you need, all the downloads neatly organized, but it's just like they ask the same questions, and some of them are really toxic too. After drops, if we don't work, it's not like we're supposed to. It's not like we can work every week because if Supreme changes something, it's not really on us. But the amount of toxicity and hate you get right after that, it's nuts, man.
Yeah, touching on the positive things you did say, I do think that owners and people in a high spot in the hierarchical structure for bots, they do actually kind of set off this like stem of support members to go into the community. Personally, when I was doing support for Adept, a lot of my followers did come from working for Adept. People knew me as that guy from the Adept support team. I definitely do think that little push at the beginning creates the name within the community, and then you went off and took the knowledge you had from Shaba, and obviously it's a very nice thing of him to do, to pass on this knowledge to create Signal. And it's just a really, really nice thing to see, instead of people secluding this information, that actually investing it into new talent and new people to create bigger organizations and just overall to create a bigger family within everyone. But also the negative things that are users that do go ahead and be toxic about things, about products. And at the end of the day, it's just one of those things where if you have a large density of people in a certain area doing a certain thing, there will always be those negative people within there. However, there are some positive people as well. So I guess it's just the off balance and what you pay attention to. So it's definitely one of those things that as a consumer, you definitely want to be more positive in the Discord. It just makes everything so much easier. And if you guys are a support member listening to this, just make sure to focus on the positive things. That's probably what everyone would tell you working for a bot, just because there will be negative things, but if you're doing your job correctly, that's all you can do. But moving on to the next question. Now, when Supreme goes ahead and flips the switch, changes something, and has critical effects on their success, How does that affect you? Because I definitely do understand the fact that users do express their feelings very vividly sometimes. How does that affect you?
Mentally, it's kind of like stressful because, of course, I always want F3 to succeed every week, but that doesn't always happen. So dealing with all those kind of people, it's kind of become like a regular thing now where I'm used to it, so I can respond more professionally and have a better response for them. But I don't know. I just think that people shouldn't be so quick to attack support members, right? Because we're there to help you with setups and all that. We aren't the ones coding anything. We're strictly there to just help you, you know. So developers shouldn't get hate. Support team shouldn't get hate. It's just I think people need to realize that we're human too, and that some things are just out of our control. We just can't do anything about it, you
Yeah, I
know.
definitely do think that users need to keep in mind that all bots, by definition, is to increase your likelihood of success. There isn't guaranteeing success. It
Yeah.
isn't one of those things where if you buy this and you put these keywords and you run at this time, you will cop. It's all suggestive. It's all complimentary. To be honest, when you buy that bot, you have support for the bot. You have the bot itself. But then again, you need to take it upon yourself to research what actually hits, and you have all the resources in front of you. If you guys go into any Discord, all the users that consistently cook always share their setups. You can actually look at your own setups, look at the logs, everything's available to you. So I definitely do think taking upon yourself to go ahead and do your research, see what works for you with your setup, as well as the support in the Discord on the bot itself. That holy trinity kind of creates a very successful user, and in my eyes, I think that's the best way to go about when using any type of bot for any platform. But moving on to the next part of the episode. SignalFNF, it is a group that we have mentioned in the previous questions. SignalFNF is a huge group within the community. It's very, very well known. Hyxder is one of the main owners, but jumping straight into the questions regarding the group. Where did the name SignalFNF come from?
SignalFNF. So initially there were three owners. There was me, this guy called Nick, also known as OK, this is Epic, and then there was Salty, who's also an F3 mod. So we started up and we were trying to talk and figure out what names were good, but we couldn't think of anything that actually matched. So I decided not to talk to them about our name, and I just went to some IRL friends, and we just kind of sat down. They put words together, and we just chose Signal because it sounded really like smooth. And no, yeah, that's basically it. There's nothing really special behind Signal's name. It's just we just decided it felt.
Yeah, so outsourcing for a name, outsourcing for a brand's name is definitely a good idea, because end of the day, people outside of this scene or inside of the scene, consumers in general, will be buying the product, so it's nice to have a very good company name. So yeah, end of the day, not all names have meanings. As long as it's good, as long as it's snappy, then it gets to the point, it can help you sell the product and it helps the business overall. But moving on to the next question. Creating one of these big things takes up a lot of time. Where did the motivation come from behind creating a group?
Crazy, yeah, tons of time, man. Where did the motivation come from? It was shortly after I had completed my first season of working for F3. So during the time I was working for F3, I made some really good connections with some friendly people, like Cats, Ben Soda, and all those guys. So I made this FNF group chat that was called Hyxder and the Homeboys, which got deleted yesterday because my main account finally got wiped. Feels bad, man. Yeah, that's gone now. But it started as an FNF chat. We were all just having really good times in there. Like I made prizes, and we used. Do you know the Dank Memer bot? Yeah, we'd use like the person with the highest coins gets a gift, like Nitro, and we just play around. It was really good. We just talked to each other. So I wanted to do something, make like a community that had like a cook group that had that same kind of FNF vibe, but with a larger amount of people. I thought that I could do something like this because of the people that I already had surrounded, like I was surrounded with already, who were in my FNF. So I moved them all over to Signal FNF. And actually, Signal FNF was first called Signal Notify. I'll just say that. It was really bad, but we changed the FNF later after we had like around 80 members. So I kind of just wanted to dedicate something to those guys because of the motivation that they had given to me to be a better person and to be like better reseller in general, like making more money and all that. So I wanted to give back to them, and as well as just like I was saying, for one of the first questions, I wanted to own my own company. So I thought that with the connections I had made, and I could finally make the group that I always wanted to, and have all my friends.
Yeah, that is definitely nice to hear that you had support going into creating this group and there was people that actually wanted to see the group to be made. And it's nice to have a nice story behind it. Most of the time, most of these groups are money motivated, but as you just said, it wasn't very money motivated from what I just picked together. It was kind of just a community vibe. And I definitely do think for being in Signal, there is a heavy emphasis on a community, and I definitely do think that is the best way to go about creating a group. Now, moving on to the next question, we've talked about how creating this group creates a lot of time. There's a lot of people within these groups to make them the best they can be. What were some of the difficulties when you first created SignalFNF?
Oh, there's tons of things, man. There was the time, there was the money we had to invest, there was competition and all that. So what I wanted to do was something that was like a different approach to making a cook group. So we wanted to really, as you were saying earlier, we wanted to emphasize on our community. I thought that the best way to get members and renewing members is to create really good relationships with them, and that our company had really good customer service. So customer satisfaction, that's what I was focusing on the whole time. And that was really what helped us keep going, because we wouldn't really have survived the first month if people didn't like who we were as people, like the staff team and the owners. So that was really risky to go with at the start, but people ended up liking us, and that's how we continued to grow. And then there was the money that we had to put in. I was actually starting to go broke the first 2 to 3 months because we didn't have that many members. It was like $15 a month too. It was like 50 members, $15 a month. That's like
1.5 rocks.
It's like
yeah,
really, yes, like low revenue, man. So I was kind of going broke over that, but I didn't want to really give up. So I got tons of help from the F3 team. Shaba, he was helping me out with marketing and all that. Just like really nice of him. Like he owned a cook group too, but he didn't mind sharing all the resources that he had with me. So that's why I owe a lot to him and mention him a lot. But yeah, there's that. The marketing we had to. Wow, so bad. Like it's just hard for me to think about it because there was not much that we could do in that situation. We just had to contact anyone and everyone we could for like giveaways and all that. So we were partnering up with 100 follower, 200 follower groups and kind of growing with them. And something that's cool is Notify Squared, which is another cook group. They started exact same time as Signal. We used to collaborate a lot together at the start. Like we both had 200 followers, but no matter how much we kept growing, the owner, Legit, I have good relations to them. He just kept helping me out as well. So that was going back and I'd say money, time, connections. That's really what you need to get out into all of this, like to start in a cook group, and of course the knowledge. You can't do anything without that.
Yeah, I definitely do think creating these connections right at the beginning, trying to create this brand, gain followers, gain traction, up impressions, it's all a huge game at the end of the day. You need to play the game right. You need to know when to hit certain things. You need to know how to manipulate the timeline to your advantage to get more people to see your tweets. End of the day, for a consumer's point of view, to them, it's literally just a tweet, you know? They see the tweet, they're like, okay, it's a tweet. But you got to understand that that tweet that you just saw probably had about a couple of hours of negotiating what time to push out the tweet, what comes following the tweet. There's so much things that goes into branding and marketing on Sneaker Twitter for loads of brands. And to get into it right now would be a pretty boring thing. Maybe we'll cover a future episode with a couple of people on the episode talking about it. But I definitely do think it's something that's overlooked. And I definitely do think if you're very good at it, it's something that's very unique. Because not a lot of people know how to do it successfully. And the people that do are the people that you end up making hundreds of people sit around for a restock because they know how to manipulate the timeline. They know how to get people to sit around for these restocks and know what time to push out tweets.
Yeah.
So I definitely do think it's a very valuable thing to have. And I personally think that Signal has definitely conquered that element of marketing. And that's why it's one of the reasons it's very successful today. But moving on to the next question. We've talked about the difficulties, immediate difficulties. What were some of the immediate benefits you had from creating Signal?
Some of the immediate benefits I had was the fact that so many people started relying on us for their information and renewing for us, wanting to be in our group, wanting to be a part of it. it was really cool to see that there were people that had same mindsets, like uh, like I did, like Salty did, and like the Nick did. All the three owners shared the same mindset, and when members started coming in, the reason they stayed was because they shared that same kind of shared the same thoughts as us. Um, so that was really cool to see, making all the new friends in my own group, and also the fact that you can reach out to people more easily when you say that you own a certain type of service. So that was pretty cool to go around saying, yeah, I own this group and all that.
Well, it links back to one of your main motivations to continue reselling. You did say that you wanted the brand. You did say that you want to be reputable. And by all means, people can take that the wrong way. They can say, okay, you're only doing this for clout. But at the end of the day, like,
Yeah.
it's your name on something. I feel like owning something and creating something, but all your time into something is a lot more satisfying than monetary gain, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. People can disagree with me, but owning something and saying, you know what, I put all my hard work into this is mine, and this is what it does for these people, I feel like that is very, very satisfying. Now, moving on to the next question. When you did start Signal, obviously you came from being a support from F3. How did people take that? Did people in the F3 chat go ahead and be like, oh, this is Hyder, he's creating his group, shall I go join? How were people's reactions from going from being an F3 support person to an F3 support person that has a group?
Oh, starting up when I was in F3, I didn't really I wasn't allowed to market inside of F3, right? Like I couldn't post anything regarding Signal. So F3 members didn't really know that I owned the Cuckoo because I didn't talk about it in F3 as well because I didn't want to seem like I was promoting myself because that's just, it's just rude to do that. So basically, whoever contacted me or by word of mouth, people telling one another that, Hyxder made a cook group. That's really how things got around. Yeah, it's just that. It's just marketing with doing giveaways with people and word of mouth.
Yeah, well, obviously that's a very respectable thing to do, not promoting yourself and not using the platform that you did have to your own advantage. I feel like some people may abuse that to push their own products, and obviously it's very nice to hear that you didn't do that. Now, moving on to the next question, let's skip forward to your point you're at right now. You've gone through the difficulties, you've gone through this whole stage of trying to invest and trying to keep your head above water. At the point you're at right now, what are some of the positives of creating this group that has impacted your life, and what are some of the negatives of creating the group?
Positives of working with the group. The positives are just building up Signal to where it is right now, with all the hype and the good reputation that it has. It's really cool to see that so many people support you from like all over the place. Like recently, we expanded to um, Europe because Signal was just US at the start, US and Canada, but then we expanded to EU. So seeing people from all over the place wanting your product and seeing the demand for it is just crazy. And it's really humbling as well to every time like I do a restock and see all the people wanting to go for it, like in the comments, the retweets, the likes, and all that. It just throws me back to the time when Signal had zero. Like people, we were using Patreon at the time. Memberships were sitting. It was just a whole struggle. So every restock is actually like a reminder to me to always be the same as I was when I first started Signal. Have the same mentality of members first over money and all that. So it's really helped me create a positive mindset owning Signal. And for the negatives, it would just be maintaining that image, maintaining that reputation that your group has. Basically, I have like a personal Twitter, which I like to just fool around on a lot, but I never want anything to reflect what my company is like, right? So drawing the line between what to say and what not to say and all that is just it gets hard sometimes because I just want to fool around sometimes, but at the same time, I have to remember that I have a really big image to keep.
Yeah, I definitely do agree. Maintaining a professional approach on Twitter is definitely one of those things where people tend to do. And I like how with you do represent Signal. However, you don't let that lessen your actual Twitter presence. You don't let that lessen your comedic tweets, which is a nice thing to see. And also some of the positives you talked about is where like the restocks is a humble reminder of where you came from. That's very nice to see. I like how you said that you want to stay the same person you were at the beginning and obviously take what you have now and be humble with it, because that is definitely one thing that I think a lot of people should work on, because I feel like sometimes when all this success comes, people do switch up and try to create this like ego complex, but it's nice to see that you don't have that. Now, moving on to the next question. To maintain a group and to create this service where people pay for it on a monthly basis, and to overall make it a very, very good thing to people to invest money in, you need to have people working for you. Now, what skills / characteristics do you look for in someone when you're recruiting them to Signal?
So, like I was saying before, when Signal first created, there were members that had mentalities like owners. That's why it started growing up.
Moving on to the next question. You do own the group, but another individual does own the group. If you guys don't know who I'm talking about, Famous Cooks does actually own the group with Hyxder. Now, how is it like owning a group as a partnership?
So, being a 50-50 partner, it's not really something that crosses my mind. All I know is that I have a co-owner that's working just as hard as me to get Signal bigger and to grow it even more. And that's all I could ever ask for. Ever since Famous has been on board, there's been more projects, more hardworking staff that are being in, and better communication throughout all of Signal. It's been it's been super, like, that was the best choice I basically made, having Famous as my co-owner. And if I had to restart another group, then I would have him be my co-owner as well.
Yeah, I definitely do think owning a group as a partnership definitely does have its benefits. I feel like that second opinion to maybe sometimes challenge your opinion or maybe to reinforce a decision you want to make is definitely very, very nice to have. And I'm very glad that the partnership is going well over at Signal, because that does reflect how the group overall runs and overall looks to the general public. Now, moving on to the next question. Something we actually kind of touched upon in the earlier questions. Owning Signal, which is by far one of the biggest groups in the community, and also working for F3, which is by far one of the most dominant bots on the Supreme market right now, that must take a pretty big toll on your personal life. How do you balance all that?
It's harder to maintain everything now than it was when I first started off, because there were less people I had to talk to, less people demanding things and all that. So recently, it's just been chaotic. Um, it's really hard to find a balance, but what I do is basically I save specific days, as I've done before, like Tuesday and Wednesday. I dedicate those days to F3 support, because that's right before the Supreme drop, which is Thursday. So the rest of the days I just focus on Signal and like every day.
Moving on to the final question. What do members within SignalFNF have in store for them in the future?
So Signal, what we have coming up is Signal Tools is releasing in a few days. Nothing to be too excited about. I just really apologize for the amount of time that it's taken to actually come out. I was really hoping it could come out sooner, but because of issues that we announced, that's going to be happening now. And RaffleBot, that's coming early December or end of the month. I'll post more information as soon as I get more updates from the developer. And we're working on some new things with our Nova partnership, and we should expect a group buy to be early November as well. And everything regarding that, I'll just post in the dedicated channels. So stay tuned for that.
This is a very, very good opportunity for you. Personally, if I was a consumer, I'd 100% join Signal. There's plenty of things available to a consumer, even if you're new to this and you have no idea what you're doing. The guides are very detailed. You have all the tools at your disposal. The fee you pay each month is like a tiny thing. You won't even notice it once you're making all the profit that Signal does open up to. Moving on to the Twitter questions. Every single episode, I always tweet out, drop your questions. I always retweet the guest tweet. If the guest doesn't tweet it out, I tweet it on the TheBotTalk account. So if you guys want to drop your questions for next week's episode, keep notifications on for the Twitter for TheBotTalk. Moving on to the first three questions we have for Twitter questions. One comes in from Shabba, which is Hyder's employer at F3. He said, what made you want to make a Discord account to be within the community?
So as I said, I first started off with Twitter. I didn't even know that Discord was made for like servers for reselling. Apart, like I used to use Discord just for like League of Legends and all that, with, just hanging out with my friends, playing some games. But once I saw that there was this whole other community that was on the Discord platform, I was really intrigued by it, and I made an account as soon as I could, and I jumped right in. I didn't really know where to go. That was the only problem, because I didn't know how Discord worked. I just knew that there were servers. So every time there were like these spammers that would, the spammers on Twitter where it's like if a bot posts something and like a random person just sends an invite link to a Discord. That's how I was getting around. Like I was going into, they were just giving free invites everywhere, so I joined them, and Yeah, I just kept bouncing from there to there.
Moving on to the next Twitter question, we have @Crific on Twitter. He said, due to cook groups being oversaturated in the community, what do you think will be the next step for cook group to differentiate themselves from one another?
Honestly, I think that I should just be doing what I have been doing since the start. It's just staying true to myself, creating these close relationships with my members, making sure that they have everything they need and that they're happy. I feel like if I just continue doing that, members already know the kind of person I am, so they're willing to renew because they understand that uh, the group, what do you call it? The group is worth $25 a month. Sorry for the stutter there. But regardless, where that doesn't mean that that's all I want. I'm gonna keep expanding, keep making programs, taking suggestions from members, and adding new features to Signal, regardless. So I think the steps that we need to take is just cook groups are too similar. Like the general basis of cook groups is too similar, like providing information of profitable releases and all that. But I feel like doing the things that like Restock World and a bunch of groups are doing, that is like making their own exclusive programs to offer their groups. I feel like that's what Signal is going to be focusing on. We're going to be making really convenient app for you guys, so you don't have to really purchase from other parties. We want to make sure that Signal is like an all-in-one Cuckoo. We have all the tons of programs you can have without paying an extra penny for them.
Okay, quickly before we wrap up today's episode, I want you guys to go down below, go ahead and follow Signal. All the affiliations and links will be down below. Hyder's links will be down below as well. But moving on to the final section of today's episode, Hyder has something to say.
So one-time invite code is up on the screen. If you do get it, just DM me and I'll give you. Looking forward to seeing you.